What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to MANIACITV, man. Today, we got the Lil Durk and King Von story, February 5th, 2019, from my boy Blackie Speaks, man. I'm a big fan of the channel, by the way. High quality content, man. Now, listen. This story, for those of you that's not too familiar with it, this happened in Atlanta. It's all based around Atlanta. It had nothing to do with Chicago. This was based around Atlanta, and, you know, if you remember the infamous court shots of Lil Durk and King Von in that courtroom, you remember when Durk released Turn Myself In. I'm not even gonna lie, at this time, I thought these boys was done. At this time, I wasn't too familiar with who King Von was. I ain't really get familiar with Von until later in 2019. But I honestly thought, man, I'm like, man, Durk is done. This is it right here. There's no way he's gonna like get out of this. I hope he do, but I was like, man, I thought it was over. Now, in recent days, I want to say it was 5 charges have been dropped against Lil Durk, you know, surrounding this case. So Durk is completely free from this case, man. So we gonna see the details about this, the Lil Durk and King Von story, man. Let's get it.
Now, I want to cover this Lil Durk story and case from 2019. If you don't know what story I'm talking about, well, that's why I'm here, right? We're going to get into it in detail in a second. But back in 2019, Lil Durk was allegedly involved in a shooting in the Atlanta, and the charges actually ended up getting dropped recently, which is why I'm covering this story. Before we get to that, obviously like the video and make sure you're subscribed. I'm waiting. All right, thank you. Now that you've liked the video and subscribed, hey, let's get into it. On February 5th, 2019, Atlanta police received a report about a shooting that went down near a restaurant in the city. The shooting allegedly took place in the parking lot of the Varsity, located on 61 North Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia, just before 6 a.m. The investigators arrived to the scene and found a man on the ground outside the restaurant suffering from a gunshot wound to his leg. The man was identified as then 23-year-old Alexander Weatherspoon. Alexander was in serious condition. He was quickly taken to the Atlantic Medical Center where he received treatment and he survived. Alexander was eventually released following surgery. The police at the time stayed very low-key about any info surrounding the case. All they revealed was at the time they found Alexander on the ground with a bullet to his thigh in the parking lot outside the Varsity, and they also revealed that an eyewitness had stated that they saw a dark SUV leaving the scene. The police also stated that the shooting had apparently went down after some type of argument broke out between 2 men. 13 bullet casings were recovered at the scene along with a firearm. After the shooting, a representative for the restaurant said the following: "Early this morning, a shooting took place in the parking lot at the Varsity on North Avenue while our restaurant was closed. Thankfully, no Varsity employees or customers were on site, and we're cooperating with the Atlanta Police Department to help in any way possible." On May 30, 2019, a couple months after the alleged shooting had went down, Derek Banks, professionally known as Lil Durk, became a wanted man in connection to the shooting. An arrest warrant had been issued in his name and the police were looking for Durk. Durk was facing 5 different felony charges for this alleged shooting: criminal attempt to commit murder, aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during commission of felony, possession of firearm by convicted felon, and one more charge is what Durk was facing. Lil Durk and his legal team quickly announced that he would be turning himself in to the authorities, and so that's what happened. Lil Durk did an interview just moments before he was about to surrender himself to the police and said the following.
That's right. We're outside APD headquarters now, as you said, and his lawyer says Lil Durk is still in the Fulton County Jail as his legal team works to get a bond set. But before he surrendered, we were with him in his lawyer's office. You're about to surrender as we speak.
Yeah.
How come?
Because I have nothing to add. Like, I have nothing to run from.
You know what's crazy though? All those charges though. This is basically they hitting him with attempted murder. They hitting him with he a felon and he got a firearm. A felon with a firearm is that charge alone is an absurd amount of years with it. But attempted murder, like they was hitting him with everything, bro. Like his lawyer is goated. I ain't even gonna lie. She's goated.
Like, I have nothing to run from.
Turning himself in was the best thing for him to do though, because somebody of his notoriety, when you got that many charges, man, if it would have been worse if you was on the run and they had to like physically bring you in, like it would have been worse. It would have been even worse. But him to own up to, you know, what he was facing, you know, that was best case scenario at that time.
A rapper's ride. Soon after we spoke, Durk Banks, a.k.a. the performer Lil Durk, emerged from his lawyer's space and headed toward an SUV. Soon after that, he stepped out in front of the Fulton County Jail. One of his lawyers says he was swiftly taken into custody there, having swiftly flown back to Atlanta after he found out he was wanted.
We found out we had a warrant. We was actually on tour. Once I heard, I immediately came back.
He's willing to turn himself in and take care of what he needs to take care of.
We immediately canceled the tour.
He's got a multi-million-dollar salary music career going.
Did you do it? Did you shoot this man? Did you commit the other crimes of which you're accused?
No.
You can't come back to your hood, huh? No.
Durk also released a record on that same day titled Turn Myself In, where he was doubling down on his innocence. False accusation, why they name dropping, they want to know if I'm rapping or robbing, taking these drugs for my family problems, Durk rapped. Shortly after his arrest.
Now, that's what I say, turning himself in was the best. It was the best case scenario. Because if you went on the run, it would make you look more guilty. Like I said, I don't know, like, I wasn't there. We don't know. Everything was alleged. But for him to turn himself in, man, it was the smartest thing.
Sometime in mid-June, Lil Durk was in court for a hearing where his alleged involvement in the shooting was presented. Davon Bennett, professionally known as the late King Von, was also a co-defendant in this case as well. And Von was allegedly present during the shooting with Durk. An Atlanta police detective by the name of Jeffrey Churchill stated that he spoke to a witness who was at the scene when the incident took place, and the witness claimed the following. She stated that she was standing outside talking to Durk and Vaughn in front of a cigar bar around 5 a.m. on February 5th when they saw a fight going down in the car in front of them. She then stated that Durk allegedly pulled out a piece and gunshots went off. Durk and Vaughn were both.
Ain't no way this woman just, she bold. She bold as hell. Not only did you take the stand on Durk, but you took the stand on Davon Bennett. You realize that, shawty? You realize that, right? Now, that's crazy. I would have remained anonymous. I wouldn't even have said nothing. I was at home. I was at work, officer. I don't know.
In the car in front of them. She then stated that Durk allegedly pulled out a piece and gunshots went off. Durk and Vaughn were both sitting inside the courtroom listening to the witness testimony as prosecutors described the case as gang-related. The prosecutors stated that both Lil Durk and Vaughn were members of the Black Disciples, a large street gang based in Chicago, and that they personally knew the victim. Alexander Weatherspoon allegedly had $30,000 on him, an expensive chain, and a nice whip, and that's why Durk and Vaughn targeted him, or so that's what they claimed.
Now, okay, make it make sense though. Lil Durk making multi-million. Like, yeah, granted at this time, bro, Durk, this was a year before Durk like went there. But best believe Durk has some millions in the bank. For sure. What Durk looked like going up to this man? First of all, my nigga, why the hell you got $30,000 cash on you in Atlanta? Rolling around like it's just like it's North Dakota or something. Like, bro, you got $30,000 on you. But make it make sense though. Like, what would Durk gain from this? What would he gain from this? Already being a felon, what would he gain from shooting and robbing somebody? Come on now.
A chain and a nice whip, and that's why Durk and Vaughn targeted him, or so that's what they claimed. Detective Churchill, however, stated that he didn't find any evidence that the shooting was in fact gang-related. While on a stand, he also claimed that Alexander Weatherspoon had a gun on him. Durk's legal team then asked Detective Churchill if it was possible that Alexander Weatherspoon was the one who fired the initial shots. You don't see Mr. Banks, that's Durk, shooting on a street at any time. The only time you believe he was shooting is when he was in the camouflage Jeep, correct? Durk's lawyer asked the detective. Detective Churchill responded by saying that was the only time I could see him shooting. It was also claimed that police had video evidence that showed Lil Durk firing his weapon at the victim several times with his hand outside the car.
They were hanging out. They went to a studio to make music.
The rapper and Bennett listened to the evidence against them in court. Police told the judge later that night the victim, Banks, Bennett, and others went to a nightclub, a gas station, and ended up in the parking lot of the Varsity. That's when Weatherspoon said he was robbed and shot.
He said his chain was snatched.
Okay. I want to, because I don't know, like, the details about this. And I ain't saying, like, oh, this is what happened. But did they ever come to think, especially in this day and age, that maybe dude was trying to rob Durk? Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, we see this constant pattern with rappers becoming targets. Like, yeah, at this time, like, you probably, if you looked at King Von, you wouldn't have thought that he was like anybody of any notoriety. But if you saw Durk, blonde dreads, okay, OTF chain, okay, I know he got bread, I know he got millions, like, oh yeah, I'm about to, yeah, this gonna be an easy lick type shit. Did they ever think of it being the other way around?
Out of the varsity. That's when Weatherspoon said he was robbed and shot.
He said his chain was snatched off his neck, and he had $30,000 stolen from him, and they stole the vehicle he was driving.
Police say Banks was seen on tape shooting a gun.
You see Mr. Banks armed.
And that could have been in defense. That could have been in defense. But like I said, I'm not saying that because I wasn't there. I don't
driving.
Police say Banks was seen on tape shooting a gun.
You see Mr. Banks armed out the window, firing several shots at the victim, towards the victim.
After a 2-hour-long court hearing with testimonies and statements by both the prosecutors and defense, the judge decided that there was enough evidence for the case to go to trial.
Granny ain't feeling too well. Shoot out with the police, ain't going to jail.
Lil Durk was shortly after this granted a $250,000 bond. Some restrictions that came with this release: a curfew from 11 p.m. until 7 p.m., an ankle monitor at all times, no contact with gang members, and he couldn't be near or possess any weapons and had to stay at least 200 yards away from the victim.
And I think it kind of ties into, like, you can't be around the other gang members. But I think he couldn't even be around Von after this. I think that was like the last time they were ever around each other. Like, I want to say, like, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure, like up until Von's death, like after this, they was never around each other.
Be near or possess any weapons and had to stay at least 200 yards away from the victim. Dave Von Bennett, King Von, was also released on a $300,000 bond as well.
Got a drop on this flexing nigga. He from Tennessee, I had a thought.
Should be with the shit.
Now this case has actually been pending ever since then. Apart from everything I brought up in this video, not a lot of info was out there. Lil Durk, although he had these allegations against him, never officially got indicted for this crime. Now, over 3 years later, the charges against Durk in his case have officially been dropped. A motion was recently filed, specifically on October 17, and this is what it said. The facts of this case have been reviewed, and although it appears that probable cause existed for the defendant's arrest, Lil Durk, the decision of the district attorney at this time is not to prosecute the above-named defendants. The reason for this decision are as follows: prosecutorial discretion. Prosecutorial discretion, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's essentially when the prosecution decides whether or not they want to continue with charging a person for said crime. If they happen to not want to charge them, well, this could be for multiple reasons. One of the main reasons usually is the fact that they don't have enough evidence to charge the defendant. And so, since the legal burden of proving that the defendant carried out said crimes is on the prosecution, if they feel like all the evidence they have isn't enough, usually what tends to happen is they drop the case, like in this situation right here. By the way,
I want to say this. Now, I saw, like I said, I've been seeing the comments about these charges being dropped. And I've been seeing people like, oh, well, Durk he got to drop because he telling. You got to remember, bro, this case has been going on for 3 years, bro. If they wanted to indict him, if they wanted to, like, physically, if they wanted to charge him with attempted murder and all them other charges, they would have done it right now if they had the evidence. On top of that, King Von hasn't been here next week makes 2 years since we lost Von. So you already got the co-defendant already, like, is a non-factor at this point. So it's like, at this point, man, and Durk really ain't been in anything else. Durk been staying clear of any drama, any BS. Like, come on, man. Like, look at it. Like, really think about it, man. Like, it's to the point where I even forgot about this case until they brought it back up, like, yesterday. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot he was fighting that case. But come on, man. Lack of evidence. Von isn't here. It's been 3 years. Durk has been fully focused on his music, fully focused on touring his craft. He ain't out here catching charges left and right, not even a DUI. Like, bro, he really just out the way.
Usually what tends to happen is they drop the case.
But I hate when people say, like, oh, well, he telling. Why would y'all assume that he telling, though? Like, why, like, really give me, like, without trolling, like, give me a valid reason why someone would say he telling. Because I saw they said Von would have been charged for this. I don't know how credible the source was, but they said Von would have been charged for this. Durk wouldn't have been charged for this. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. Like, I don't know, man. But people were saying that Vaughn would have been the one to get charged for this case. Like I said, I don't know how credible that source was.
Like in this situation right here. And by the way, this decision to drop the case was actually made by Fani Willis. I'm probably going to have to make an entire video on this woman right here.
Huh?
She's the Fulton County District Attorney who's one of the star prosecutors.
Miss Rico herself? This, hold on. I'm scared. I ain't only living in Atlanta and I'm scared. Like, this is the woman that you don't want to see her face when it come down to, if you a rapper and you live in Atlanta, operate in Atlanta, like, you don't want to see this woman face.
In the YSL RICO indictment. I think this shooting case against Durk getting dropped has a lot to do with what's going on in A right now. Mainly talking about the YSL RICO case and all the investigating they've been doing as far as that. A lot of the resources right now are obviously going towards the YSL case. I mean, that is a huge case. So there's a lot going on in Atlanta right now, and they obviously have a finite amount of resources. Going after Lil Durk in a 3-year-old case where they don't have enough evidence against him isn't something they're trying to waste their precious resources on when all this other stuff is going on in their backyard. So I think that's played a huge part here, because they could have kept on dragging this out, but that would obviously take their attention away from all the other shit that's going on in Atlanta right now. King Von was of course also
but then again though, like, if they really got like this whole conspiracy to take down all rappers that operate and live in Atlanta, why wouldn't she just go along with the case though? But like I said, Durk been out the way. He been so low, it's like he could, like, his team would have fought that. Even if she decided to, you know, continue on with the charges, I feel like he still would have walked clean. But I don't know, that's weird that she just said, you know, just drop it.
To take their attention away from all the other shit that's going on in Atlanta right now. King Von was of course also a co-defendant in this case, but Von isn't here today, so that obviously plays a huge aspect as well. If King Von was still here, my guess is they would have at least, you know, tried going after him as a second option in order to shake up things with Durk. Because if you hurt Von, you also hurt Durk, because shit, Durk had a lot of love for Vaughn. They were practically, not literally, but practically, that was his brother. Since the charges have now been dropped, Lil Durk can officially put this entire case behind him and move on. Anyway, there you have it. Don't leave this video without liking it. Come on.
That's it. The Lil Durk and King Von story, February 5th, 2019. Link down below in the description for y'all to check it out in its entirety with no interruption. Sound off in the comment section y'all thoughts and opinions on Lil Durk getting all these charges dropped from him, man. Long live Von. Y'all new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for me. To the next video, I'll see y'all then. Thank you for watching MANIACITV. I'm out.